Recording in Panopto is the default for many of us. It's what we're used to. It's where we go first when we need to record a presentation. But while Panopto has its benefits, it also has some downsides. In Panopto, with video switched on, you end up with two screens looking something like this. And with my student hat on, I don't really find this ideal because you can't focus on the lecturer and the slides at the same time. PowerPoint, on the other hand, allows you to jump into your slides and to make your presentation and your slides an integral whole. You can even gesture to parts of the slides if you want to. In Panopto, students will then see something like this, which feels a bit more visually simple to me than the normal Panopto layout. Students can also choose to hide the captions if they don't want them, which streamlines the screen even more. The benefits aren't just for the students though. I have recorded all of my lectures this academic year in PowerPoint, and the biggest benefit for me has been the ability to record one slide at a time. And there are several reasons why. So firstly, I'm not a lecturer that likes to present on the hoof. I work best when I've planned out what I want to say, not word for word, but the general structure of what I want to say for each slide. And recording slide by slide gives me the chance to revise that structure before starting the recording for that slide. So I don't have to keep looking down at my notes to make sure that I'm on track and that I'm remembering to say what I want to say. PowerPoint actually also does have a handy note function to help you remember your notes as well, and I will show you that in the how-to section of this video. Mistakes are easily rectifiable too. If you totally cock up at some point, which we all do, we get tongue-tied, we lose our train of thought, you can restart the recording just from that slide. You don't have to re-record the whole lecture, you can just go on that slide only. And then editing your slides after recording is also easy when you're recording in PowerPoint. Let's say you notice that maybe there was a typo in one of your slides after you've recorded the audio and the video. Or you realise that there's no mistake on the slide, but you think actually maybe it would work a bit better if I changed the layout of the slide a bit. In Panopto, that would be incredibly difficult. I'm not quite sure how you would do that. But in PowerPoint, it's very easy. You simply amend your slide as you would normally, and the recording will stay there attached to the slide. And that means that once you've put in the work to record your lectures, if you want to, you can reuse some of that work in subsequent years. So you can edit individual slides, things that might need updating, things that might need tweaking, or add new slides in, take slides out, and re-record the individual slides that need changing or the new slides that need adding in. You don't need to go back and do the entire presentation again. Of course, the problem with this is that it might be a little bit of a continuity nightmare for you. So if all that leaves you interested in recording lectures and presentations in PowerPoint, I'm going to show you how to go about it and how to upload your recording into Panopto at the end so that you can provide it to your students. The first thing to check though, if you want to be able to record video within PowerPoint, is that you have the correct version of Office to allow it. So if you're running a UE machine, you might not, but you can update this easily enough in the Software Centre. So while you can do audio recording with Office 2016, you need to be running Office 2019 to be able to use the video recording function in PowerPoint. But like I say, if you have a UE machine that doesn't have Office 2019, you can update it in the Software Centre. So let's get started in our walkthrough of how you would record a PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to assume that you're recording slide by slide because, like I've explained, I find that easier to do. So we need to go across the top in the slide we want to record on and click on the slideshow ribbon. And it's this record slideshow function. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to record from a current slide. If you wanted to record your presentation all the way through, you would click on record from beginning. But we're going to go with record from current slide. So when you press that record from current slide button, this is the screen that pops up. You just had a quick view of my screensaver there at Saunton Sands in Devon. Lovely, worth a trip if you're ever in the area. So this is the screen that you get. So it looks like a blank white space at the minute because my slide is blank so that I can put the screen recording on for this slide. But if you had a standard slide with words or pictures or graphics or anything, they would show up here. Okay, and you can see me here in the corner because I have got the camera on. So you do have the ability to turn the camera off, and you might want to use that where your slide is already totally full. Perhaps you have a table that fills the entire slide, or quite a complex graphic that fills a lot of the slide and there isn't space for you to go into the slide, or you don't want the students to be distracted by a visual of you. So if you want to, you can turn that camera off and it will just record your audio. But I don't want you sitting there staring at a white screen, so I'll turn myself back on. You could also turn your microphone off if you wanted to. I'm not quite sure. I don't think many people would want to do that, but there is that ability to record with video only. Now, I mentioned earlier the ability to have notes. So the notes are found here. And those notes come from the notes on the PowerPoint slide. So whatever you write in your notes section on the PowerPoint slide will be in this box here, and you can scroll through it as you're recording. So if you can see, these are the notes I've written for what I want to talk to you about when I'm recording this slide. And the beauty of it is that it is up at the top of the slide, so it's near the camera on your laptop usually, and so you can look at the notes, you can look at the camera without really having to move around a lot. So you don't have to look down at your notes to check that you're on track. You can just have a quick look in the note box. Okay. So the picture at the minute is down in the bottom corner. I will show you on a future slide that you can actually move that around. So you can make the picture bigger or smaller, and you can move it anywhere you like on the slide. But while you're recording it, it will just appear in this bottom corner. So when you're happy with everything, you're happy with how you look on the camera, you're happy that you've got the notes you need at the top, then obviously you can start the recording. And it gives you a little count in. It counts down from 3 just to give you a chance to catch your breath and get yourself in the right place for recording. When you have recorded and you've pressed the stop button, if you think to yourself, oh, I went totally wrong there, I said the wrong word, or I got myself in a flap and a tongue twister, and you just want to get rid of that, the easiest way to do it is to go here and press this option here, clear recordings on the current slide. So I can't do it at the minute because there isn't a recording on the current slide, but assuming that I had recorded one and I wasn't happy with it, I would click that and then I can just start again. So here is a presentation that I prepared earlier. So this is a slideshow from a module that I teach on, and this is the screen you'll come to when you have stopped your recording. So when you've stopped your recording and ended the recording function, it will take you back to the slide and it will look like this. So the video will be in the bottom right hand corner. Now, as you can see, that doesn't fit with this slide that I've put together. So we're going to need to move the picture around. But it's pretty easy to do that. So if you click on the picture, you can simply drag it wherever you like it. So I think on this slide, I'd like it over here. I think I'd quite like to resize it so it fits nicely within here, within this bit here. And there we go. I'm nice and in the center of that there. I could, if I wanted to, decide that I wanted to be a much bigger part of this slide. I could put myself in here instead. If I didn't want this picture of the hospital, I could make myself quite large, but I think, to be honest, the students don't need to see quite that much of me. So I think that the best for this slide would be to be around about here. There is actually another way to record in PowerPoint which you might want to use, and you can use for just an individual slide. It's not choosing one or the other for your entire presentation. So for those previous 3 slides that you've seen, I was actually using a screen record function so that you could see what I was doing. So if you want to use screen recording, you can find it in the insert ribbon and go along to the screen recording button. So it's blanked out at the minute because I am actually screen recording at this very moment. But you'll be able to click on that and it brings up this panel here. So you can select the area, so perhaps you don't want to record the entire screen, perhaps there's just a bit of it you want to record. Or if you've got 2 monitors, you're going to have to select which bit you want to record. So you select the area and then you can start the recording. And the benefit of this obviously is you can do some kind of instructional video like this, so you can show students how to do something. Or perhaps you might want to show them something on the web, so you can show them where to find information, what to do. Perhaps here you could show them how to make an appointment, for example. Or there might be anything else that you might want to talk students through, or walk them through would probably be more accurate, so they could see how to do something. For those you would use the screen recording function. And so when you've finished your recording, you can stop it and it will be automatically inserted into that slide that you were originally sitting on. Another thing you might want to think about when you're putting together your recorded PowerPoint presentation is whether you need to add in any pauses between slides. So you might have been looking at something particularly complex in a slide that students might need a few seconds just to process before they move on to the next topic. Obviously you can pause in your recording, but that might leave you sitting sort of staring awkwardly at the camera while you're pausing. So an alternative, if it's at the end of a slide, is to add in the pause with the transition. So if you go along here to the transition ribbon, right on the right hand side you will see how long it will be before the slide will move on to the following slide. So there isn't currently a recording on this slide, and so at the minute if I was to put this into make this into a video file, it would move on straight away. Now I might want to increase that so that students just have a little bit of time to sort of process what I've told them before we move on, say, to the next topic in the presentation. So I can increase this transition, so at the minute it's going to give them a 2-second pause. I might want to increase it to a 5-second pause. 5 seconds is actually quite long. I find you don't necessarily have to even go that much. A pause of just a couple of seconds is often enough just to allow students to realise that you've sort of stopped and you're moving on to the next topic rather than rushing straight into the next slide. So you can change this for the transition after each slide. You can have it different for different slides, and you can decide some slides you might want to pause a bit longer. Some slides you might feel that you don't need a pause at all because actually you're moving straight on to within the same topic. So to just show you the benefit of recording in PowerPoint, I've actually done some editing of this presentation as I go along and record it. I decided that those past 2 slides that I showed you were probably in the wrong order to start with, and so I did have pausing and transitions and then moving on to screen recording, and I thought, well, actually a more logical flow is to talk about screen recording. So I've talked about the different methods of recording, and then to talk about pausing and transitions. And so I simply moved the 2 slides around in the side of PowerPoint like you would do with any presentation. But because the recordings are captured within the slide, moving the slides around moves the recording too. So much easier to edit than if you'd recorded straight into Panopto. When you're happy with your presentation, you're happy that all of the recordings are okay, you're happy with the format of the slides, then it's time to turn it into a video. And I'm sure a lot of you know this, but just for the benefit of anybody that isn't aware of this, you can do that by going to File, Save a Copy, choose the appropriate place you want to save it in, and instead of saving it as a PowerPoint presentation, you can save it as an MP4 file. So you've got your video now. It does take a while to turn your presentation into a video, but once your computer has worked through that, you'll be ready to upload it to Panopto so that you can push it out to the students on your module. So in order to do that, you need to go into Panopto, obviously, and in the Create, or if you click on the Create button, instead of recording one, we're going to upload media. So we're going to upload our video to turn it into a Panopto video. So if we click on Upload Media, make sure, obviously, that you've got the correct module picked here for where you want to upload it to, and then you simply select the appropriate video that you've saved on your system. And then it will take, again, it's not a quick process. It might take about 5 minutes to upload your video onto Panopto, but then it will appear in the, if we just close this, it will appear, if I've uploaded it to this module, it will appear at the top of here as the next lecture. And then once within there, you can do all the things you can do with a Panopto recording. So you might still want to edit your recording. So one of the things I've done with my lectures is edit recordings to add in, say, a YouTube clip, or to add in a quiz that I want the students to take. So either a question I want to ask them during the essay, or perhaps I want to give them a little quiz at the end that I can add in. So you still have all of those functions in Panopto that you can use, even though you've recorded your main lecture in PowerPoint.